Thank you. Mr. McGee.
I also want to apologize just briefly. I think one lesson I think all of us, Professor Goldford and Mayor Peard and Isaiah McGee, will all say for you tonight is to make sure that you cough in your elbows and that you wash your hands because something's definitely going around in the air. And I think you'll hear it in all of our voices as well tonight. So, but I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the Dallas County News for sponsoring this event. I also want to thank my opponent for agreeing to find a date that works for both of us and give the public an opportunity to hear our thoughts. I want to thank Dr. Goldford for agreeing to moderate yet again another forum here in the city of Waukee, and I'll just say that if you continue this, we'll have to try to find a place for you to stay out here, and there's plenty of places for you to choose from. I also want to thank my family, who's been probably the biggest inspiration for me throughout this entire process, the biggest level of support, and the biggest encouragers for me in all this. But lastly, I want to thank the citizens of Waukee. 4 years ago, I was very humbled that citizens of Waukee picked this new kid to the community who didn't necessarily look like everybody else in the community, and gave him the vote of confidence to not only be at that time the youngest member ever elected to the council in Waukee, but also receive the most votes ever for an elected official in Waukee. I took that with a heavy heart. And I'm very thankful for that. And it's because of that I knew it wasn't the obvious differences on the outside, but I knew it was the obvious shared values that we all had inside and the potential that we thought Waukee could be and where we're trying to go with it. And so with that, I feel like I've always tried to listen, even before I was on the council. I've always tried to listen to the concerns of the citizens of Waukee and represent the views of Waukee citizens. That I have done. I've walked every street in Waukee. I've attended more events and been more engaged than many of my colleagues. I've been asked to sit on a number of boards and a number of commissions and committees at both the local level, inside the community, the state level, and also even at the federal level. Because of my commitment to engage in this process, my leadership on the council has inspired others in this city as well as in other surrounding cities to get more involved in their communities and make an impact by serving in local government. It's because of the concerns of the people in this community I've led. When faced with the challenge of shutting down our City Economic Development Committee, I led the process of researching alternatives, looking at cities like University Park in Washington, looking at Westminster, a community that I came from before moving back to Iowa, out in Colorado, also looking at the cities of Ankeny and looking at what they were doing for economic development. And it's through that process that we eventually came down the road to create the Waukee Economic Development Corporation. Before I was even elected to the council, I helped provide some of the different contacts and friendly relationships that I had with different members of Congress and their staffs in D.C. to help make it an easier process for us as we started developing our lobbying efforts to bring the money home for the Alice's Road Interchange Project, the $10 million that we now start seeing put into fruition. When the community clearly said it did not want a casino in the community, I helped lead an effort with a number of other people to make sure that our voices were heard, something that the council at the time, which includes my opponent, did not feel like it was necessary to listen to. When I passionately shared my concerns about the excesses of our spending and our salary increases and our the cosmetic remodeling that was going on, I was one of a few voices to actually vote against the city budget. My opponent voted for it. Later on, the city backed down, and the city decided to reduce its pledges for increased salaries. It decided to reduce its pledge to do some cosmetic remodeling. When I passionately shared my concerns over the communications, we finally started doing something about it. We started fixing our website. Even now, as the city tries to figure out how to do an electronic newsletter, how to run a Facebook page, how to have a Twitter account, I've been active with these communication tools for residents and with these means for a long time, and with hundreds of recipients receiving this information from me. When when I first came to the community, one of the big issues that I ran on was to make sure that Waukee had a distinct brand that it could call its own, that it had a clear vision of where it could go. And I was glad that during 5 different times, we had different people come into this community, including the people who put together our comprehensive plan, including the people who put together the library strategic plan, to say that Waukee also needs a clear brand and vision for the future. These are the same people who put together our comprehensive plan who also said this. But it's not about Isaiah McGee or Bill Peart, and I want to wrap this up here. It's about you, the people of Waukee, and what this community means to you. It's about the residents over in Walnut Ridge, a resident over in Walnut Ridge who after a job transfer chose Waukee because of its schools and later found out her best friend who lives half a mile away in the same school district pays 30% less in property taxes for a similar quality of life. It's about the resident in Grant Park who after being into the community for less than 6 months was told of some additional obligations she now faces as a homeowner in Waukee. It's about the resident in Willowbrook who was laid off from his job, heard about the city budget increase, and recently paid a $200 increase in his taxes, money that he was going to use to pay his utility bills. It's about the man on the north side of town with terminal cancer who, with everything else on his plate, has to figure out how he's going to fix the hairline crack in his sidewalk. It's about the business owners who continue to talk time and time again about the different barriers that they face here on Hickman Road, here on Alice's Road, and to talk about how they continue to come into barriers and barriers to try to make something happen. And now they want out because it's too difficult in Waukee. And lastly, it's about the Triangle business owner who worried their lifelong dream will fail because the city seems to be obsessed with the new shiny toy over in Alice's Road and abandon, quote unquote, and abandon its downtown core. Lastly, it's about the residents who have told the city time and time again that they want a rec complex and an aquatic center, but are told that the only way to get that is to increase your taxes. It's not about me getting the attention or Bill getting the attention. It's about the citizens of this community getting the attention that they deserve and the community that they want. We are Waukee.